Now, crypto has always been something very complicated for me. I've heard a lot about it, but I've not known it entirely. But this episode did help me get some clarity there, and that is all thanks to Edul Patel, co founder and CEO of Mudrex. And if just like me, you're looking to get more educational inspiration about this new buzzword, Edul tells me more about how Mudrex is doing just that through its products and services. Mudrex is a crypto investing platform headquartered in US, based in Bangalore, launched in 2018, and he talks to me about that journey. He also talks to me about tips to look out for when investing in crypto or any other financial product. He has got some amazing insights to share that I will leave this episode to reveal by itself. So go check it out across platforms, and until the next one, stay tuned. This is Karishma. I'll be back every Sunday and Thursday. Tata. Thank you so much, Edul, for joining me on this episode of Karishma Connect. It's a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait to know more about Mudrex. I've read a lot about it, and I'm happy to have you on the show to tell us all about it.
It's my pleasure, Karishma. I'm glad to be here.
Most welcome. The first thing I do on the show is begin by telling me your journey so far. How did you arrive where you are today?
Oh, absolutely. And maybe what I can do is I can just start off as back as I can.
Yes.
So grew up in a small town called as Nagpur.
Yeah.
Did all my schooling, studied for JE and engineering as well in Nagpur. Passed out of 10th, figured out there is something called as IIT that a lot of people want to go to. A bunch of my friends were applying for entrance into coaching classes and not entrance into IIT at that point. So figured might as well try and give the exam. Gave one such exam, got selected into one such coaching class. Had always in any ways enjoyed physics, chemistry, maths. PCM was always a favorite. Got into that coaching class. Fortunately, did well enough to get into IIT, join IIT Bombay, and over there I think is from where the journey actually begins. Um, the first year was just trying to explore and figure things out. But I think eventually, now in hindsight, the most valuable thing that IIT gave me was definitely an incredible network of people where literally anything and everything that you want is one connection away, and which I'm really, really, really thankful about um, in hindsight. So that of course helped. Uh, Graduated from IIT Bombay in 2011. Post that, joined Deutsche Bank, worked in Deutsche for a couple of years, and I think that really set the stage for this inherent inclination towards finance, and inherent inclination towards investing in wealth creation. I was a part of this team that used to manage risk for the entire Deutsche's brokers and the entire of Deutsche's clients that we accessed via the Deutsche broker. And at that time, Deutsche was the world's largest FX broker.
Yes.
So at any point in time, a few trillions of dollars worth of transactions were flowing through, and that really gave me a very deep insight into the world of finance and like a clear view as to how the broader system works. Um, Having said that, I always wanted to build things of my own. I had done a small startup in my fourth year of college. Really enjoyed that experience, and never really got that back from my 2 years at Deutsche. So left Deutsche, started my first company, second company, but first out of college, called as Niffler. We were building a hyper local deals and discounts platform, something like a Groupon for India. This is at a time when mobile phones were just entering into penetration, and location as a service had becoming was more and more and more becoming popular. This was before Ola and Uber was everywhere around, and this was a time when Zomato didn't actually deliver food. It was a menu based system where you looked up reviews, and Tiny Hall was a company that was starting off that was going to deliver food. So just way back then. Um, Ran that company for a couple of years. We scaled up in Bombay and Pune. Eventually got acquired and had a successful exit to this company called as Help Chat, which was then building a chat product where you could do chat for everything kind of a platform. Um, Ended up working at Help Chat, with then got renamed to Tabzo for about 3.5, 4 years. Loved that entire journey and that entire experience as well. But of course, still continue to want to do something of my own again, and was itching to get back into the arena. And 2017, Endish, Tabzo was going to get acquired by Amazon. Although that meant another happy exit for me and the team. But I never really wanted to go to Amazon. It was I felt it would be a dead end place for me. I would probably just die of suffocation over there. Decided to move on, start building of something of my own again. At this time, it was very clear to me that like I wanted to work a lot on the financial services bit, especially around helping people, manage their wealth, create their wealth. Fundamentally, believe that our, all of our individuals' relationships with money is very, very broken, and a lot of that happens either because of lack of understanding, lack of knowledge, lack of information, but a lot also happens because of lack of access to services and products. And my stint at Deutsche taught me that actually all financial services are solved, but for the rich. And the rich the rich are already financially independent, right? So how do you make available access to deeper financial services to the masses was a problem. And it fundamentally, as I said, boiled down to one problem of accessibility and the second problem of education. When I say accessibility, it was going deeper, more a larger problem of efficiency. Like the reason why a lot of financial services aren't available to everyone is because it's just too expensive to offer the same financial services to everyone.
Yeah.
And when I started going deeper into there, that's when I also, got to understand crypto a bit more. 2017 was this period when, the Ethereum blockchain was scaling up. I had my first kind of rodeo with Bitcoin long back in 2011, 2012. And had been tracking it since then, but really understood the power of crypto as the core infrastructure that will help make financial services more easily accessible, and helping money movements and value transfer becoming more internet native in 2017. Of course, also realized that all of this was just way too early and it'll probably take 20 years to get there.
Yeah.
But by then I was just deeply committed to the technology and deeply committed to just the idea that your money could literally be your money and not held money in the bank. So decided to start building in crypto. 2018 we started Mudrex, originally as a cryptocurrency exchange based out of India. 2018 April, RBI banned crypto in the country, and as a result, we moved on to building a global crypto trading infrastructure product. Built that out for a couple of years. In the meanwhile, got into YC, scaled up from YC, and as we went more and more deeper into the crypto native audience, we started realizing that a lot of the products for traders, so we had built, and our forte was automation. And what we realized also was that the best way that in reality most people can make money is if they just automate their basic investing thought process. And when I say automate, all you need to do is do an SIP in an index month over month over month. And just making that part seamless for you is actually the key to wealth creation for 95% of the world, to be really honest. We realized that part in crypto was deeply missing. So doubled down on that path and started building more and more products for retail investors. We created this product called as CoinSets, which was loosely modeled on the lines of index funds, but for crypto. That worked out really well. We got to our million odd user base. We've got about 500,000 investors on these products now, close to $10-12 million in capital deployed on these products now. And at this point in time, we are the largest crypto investing platform in the world. So yeah, overall, I think that's been my journey. I had been
a very interesting one
in the investing space, and now doubling down in crypto and investing. And hopefully this gives us the ability to double down on the wealth and investing part of with crypto.
I have a lot of questions to ask you from that. The first one is, you kind of have had a journey where you have dealt with things before their time kind of came in the market. And I feel like there's a lot of ambiguity, a lot of challenges, and a lot of unsurety associated with that, with doing something that the world around you is probably not pursuing, but placing a great trust in it before time. How did you navigate that?
No, I think so. There are two parts to that answer. This has been, to be honest, a recurring theme throughout a bunch of things that I've done, and I think half of it comes from a very first principles based approach to thinking towards where the world will move towards. That's one part. The second part was, I think what, to be honest, the tougher part was just sticking to it over the last, 5.5 years. Now we've been doing Mudrex for 5.5 years, and sometimes I still can't believe that we've been doing it for this long. But the reality is that every single time we go deeper, the belief just continues to get reinforced. That, okay, this is valuable, this is fundamentally important, and you need to continue to do it. And that reinforcement of belief aligns uh, very well with how we execute. And I think that has helped me continue to stay put to it. Of course, there are pros and cons of building things out, right? Almost surely, if you're building something in the fringes, for a vast majority of time, you're going to be building alone without anyone knowing about it. And that, in a lot of cases, works out really well, right? Because you end up creating a lot of unique, differentiated value, and actually helping the world move forward. But of course, the downsides are you don't get immediate fame, immediate recognition, immediate feedback from a very, very large set of audience. Never really craved the latter. And I think that has also helped continue to focus on building what is important and valuable for the longer run. To be honest, that also reflects in my philosophy and all the learnings that I've had with investing. Right? It's a general principle that I've now continued to follow. That slow, cheap, and best is always better than fast, expensive, and shabby. And typically, if it's fast, it'll always come back and bite you later on. It's a debt that needs to be paid at some point. And I would rather just have it dealt with early on rather than later.
Yeah. And then tell me, you, with all those startup experiences that you had in the past, what is that one lesson that you think has what is that one, say, not even lesson, market insight that you think still applies to the startup environment, which has stood the test of time?
Oh, I mean, there are just so many. And there are just so many, and so many across all the various facets of the entire building a business part. But I think this might sound cliche, but YC reinforces this one statement really well that has continued to stand out throughout time. That just says, build something people want. That, I mean, it's a cliche, and it is very a lot said, but in a lot of times very shallowly understood by a lot of people. And once you actually start seeing it play out is when you realize, okay, what does this really mean? Because we've had our fair share of incidences or periods when we actually did build a lot of things that people did not want. And eventually that does come and bite you back, right? Like once you start questioning, maine bana to diya, like that, that standard thing that people do, ki I will build and people will come and follow. That rarely happens. Almost surely it only happens because you got lucky and somehow the market moved towards wanting what you wanted rather than you building for that market. So this anecdote of building building something that people really want is just so timeless, and a lot of times I also think fundamentally so misunderstood that it requires revisiting again and again and again. I love reading Paul Graham's essays in general. There is another one that he has about default dead and default alive, and another one about doing good work. And all of those three have fundamentally shaped a lot of what my thinking is, and actually less about my thinking, but more about what my actions are as well.
That's interesting. And then let's come to crypto and what you do. To begin with, tell me about wealth creation. What are the three things that people need to keep in mind, especially today where there are so many avenues they have to navigate? What are the three fundamentals that you think they need to consider?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that people need to understand is that building wealth is a full-time job. If you are wanting to do it just for that sake. And as a result, the only case where you can be a successful trader is if you are actually doing it as your full-time job. And even if you are doing it as your full-time job, a vast majority of people will fail. So it's incredibly hard making money trading. Okay, that's the first fundamental. as a corollary of that, it is almost impossible to have a system that consistently gives you greater than normal returns. And as a result, almost surely anyone and everyone who is promising you greater than normal returns for a prolonged period of time is trying to scam you out of your money. Because it is genuinely very hard.
Especially just to give with crypto, I think there's so many.
I mean, let's crypto aside. Like the general principles of investing are the same. It really doesn't matter what the asset class is. The general principles of investing are absolutely the same. So, and just to give you, doubling down on that anecdote, 88% of fund managers don't beat the index in a 5-year period. 95% of fund managers don't beat the index in a 10-year period. To really beat to actually show that you have a lot of skill, you need to beat the index successively, consistently for close to 50 odd years to just make sure that you actually have the skill and you're not somehow lucky to be born in the right era, have the right tailwinds to help you grow and bloom and become better. So it's really, really hard to beat the index. And as a result, the third secret of building wealth is actually to just consistently invest and let compounding and time do their job. There is no point in being impatient. The only thing that you can do is have a plan, follow that plan repeatedly, and let money compound over a long period. That is for sure the best way in which you can create wealth. So to sum it up, it is extremely hard and most people fail at it. And the only way to do it for a vast majority is to just put money in an index, let it compound and do it month over month over month for years. That's what works best.
I was talking to another angel investor a couple of years back. I mean, it's been here for 3 years. So 1 or 2 years back, I was speaking to this other angel investor and I asked him this question. At the time, NFT and crypto was just picking up the buzz. I think it's around 2021 maybe. And back then, I asked him, I said, what do you think about this trend? Being an investor, how do you kind of assess crypto and NFTs, and what is your judgment of the same? And he said, what? I think we need to better understand these concepts to even be able to assess them in future. What do you think? That was then, but what do you think is the scenario now? How much do you think the market actually understands what they're dealing with, and what they need to know to better navigate it?
Yeah, so I think the way at least I would think of it is crypto is kind of where the internet was in 1998, 1999, 2000, right? You can't really imagine the full scope of the implications. What you can imagine is fundamentally what it can do. That is one part. The second part is, unlike the internet, that was actually more of a technology change and influence just access to information. Crypto is not only a technology change, it is a financial change and more so a socio-economic change as well. And the former can just continue to happen over a very long period without people noticing. The latter two require active societal participation. And I think that is where we are seeing a lot of action over the last few years, right? Like every single cycle, what happens is more people come in, more people get interested, more people invest their funds, and then that leads to a conversation around, okay, what's happening in crypto? And I think right now, the phase that we are going through is that crypto, which was just normally thought of as the wild, wild west that is never going to be accepted mainstream, is going through this massive regulatory overhaul world over, right? And the entire world is being split. The entire crypto world is, from this messy middle moving to these two corners, where on the one side, it's going to be heavily regulated and centralized, which means that it'll just lead to more acceptance and more adoption. And on the other end, completely decentralized, which means that we are actually moving towards a framework where regulators are less required, financial services become more easily accessible to a lot of the masses who are entering in from this centralized layer, right? And every single cycle, this just continues to compound and improve and become better. The last cycle, which was, let's say, broadly, even say that, let's say 2018 to 2021, 22, what we saw was crypto just moving from being only Bitcoin to a bunch of these larger, wider layer one services that actually brought to fruition what can be the power of crypto, but at an extremely high fee surface and an extremely high regulatory uncertainty surface. Over the last 2-3 years, half the regulatory problem is solved. The other half will get likely solved over the next couple of years. The technology problem is moving at a much more rapid pace than any of us could have imagined. The adoption is happening at a much more rapid pace. So now what's happening is that a lot of the older standard use cases are being rebuilt. And mind you, the other deep understanding always is that, see, problems of people never change, right? The problems remain the same. Their user experience and experience also does never change. What technology tries to solve it is just solve for it magically in the backend. And that's what crypto will also continue to do. It'll just solve for the problem magically at the backend at a cheaper cost and at a cost at which it's accessible to much more people. And that surface will become available to users. And to do that, the technology part needs to be solved for, which is happening at a super rapid pace. But the regulatory and societal acceptance part also needs to be solved. And over there, regulatory parts comes first, and we are halfway through it. Once that happens, then you have another wave, another cycle of adoption that gets people into crypto more and more and more again and again. That's crypto broadly. Talking specifically about NFTs as well, I think none of us really understand the true and actual implications of where it will go. Because conceptually, what we are trying to say is NFT or non-fungible token is basically a digital identity of something that is unique. Now, that unique thing can be 100 things associated to you as a person that are attributes, can be associated to you or not to you, but to actually physical objects and properties outside, or actually digital properties outside that don't interfere in work. Right? So our understanding of what uniqueness is and how that uniqueness gets mapped in a universe where the value of that uniqueness can be truly liquidly available is actually also very, very early. It helps you understand, and you know, some real world applications of it are exactly where things got started, right? Like art. Art was accessible only to a large fringe audience at extremely high costs. And the first variant of NFTs was, okay, how do you, it was an experiment to at least try and understand how do you make art as an investment property accessible to individuals at relatively lower or cheaper costs. And of course, every time anything related to money happens, you go through these cycles of hype and expectation, and then an eventual bust of it as well. But the building continues, and that building still continues. And I think we are in the middle of yet another cycle that will come and pass, and then we'll go through another cycle that will come and pass. It's that's how life is.
And where do you think the cycle is headed in the immediate future?
I think we are at least the way I always see, one way to look at cycles is price cycles. The other way to look at cycles is narrative and thought process cycles. And let's talk about the narrative and thought process cycles a bit more. And it always moves typically from higher uncertainty and very low confidence to more certainty and high confidence. And I think we are right now at we are right now at this point where uncertainty is on a downward graph, and as a result, confidence in the product continues to increase and expand. And this visibility is only to people typically who are deep in the trenches in that cycle building out. And typically there is a 3 to 6 month lag for the wider folks to understand and appreciate it. And I think we are at this place where we are, in my opinion, we are in this accumulation type space where all the bad things that could happen have happened. And we've absorbed all of this as an industry, moving more and more and more towards certainty. And as that certainty increases in the system, that certainty improves investor confidence, that brings in more people, that kickstarts another cycle of adoption as such.
And where does Mudrex fit into this entire scenario?
Yeah, so I think I think the way we think of it, the way we think of the world is that the first few use cases, because crypto is so centrally around money and value transfer, the first few use cases of financial services will be on crypto, will fundamentally be around wealth and investing. And as I said earlier, wealth is not trading. And over the last 60-70 years or so, we actually now have enough data to understand how traders work and why trading is bad, and for most people investing is good. And at Mudrex, what we are trying to do is trying to adopt the same principle and make that wealth creation available to users. We believe that the next wave of users that comes in is actually not traders. All traders who want to trade crypto are already trading crypto. They already know about it. And they already have tools and services that are built for them. The tools and services that investors require are not built for them. So hopefully we are building something that people want. And what our retail users come and tell us is they just want simple tools to invest consistently over a long period. And that's what we are focused on. We are building simple investing products that solve for all the complexity of crypto in the background. To you, give a simple product to invest in where you can park your money, see how it's growing, and just give you the ability to go in and out seamlessly. That's what our job is. That's what we want to continue to build out, because we think that the next large wave of people coming in is going to be retail investors. They want simple products and tools. Let's give them simple products and tools. Let's not complicate their life unnecessarily.
And do you see it become like an alternate currency altogether?
So I think crypto has many manifestations, and be it a asset, a commodity, a currency, a property, and so on and so forth are just various, just different parts of the same piece. I don't ever think it will become a currency, because the way at least or in the current manifestation, I don't think it will become a currency, because the properties of a currency are very different. The purpose of the currency is to exchange things. That's how currency is needed. Like if you just loosely go back and try and understand why currencies evolved. Currencies just evolved so that you and I could exchange value of the things that we actually felt were valuable. So as a result, fundamentally, currency was supposed to be something that was intermediate and not to be held for a long time, and something that loses its value over time. Having said that, we never had the ability to easily interchange things for value into currency. And that's changing now very, very rapidly. So I don't think crypto will ever become a currency. So actually fundamentally calling crypto currency, I think is wrong. It's never going to be a medium of exchange, because actually most government currencies do solve for that. More centralized currencies do solve for that. And I think there is a fair argument to be made as to why there needs to be some amount of control over there. The way it will evolve is more and more as a store of value. Just the kinds of value you can store now inside of crypto will change. And that kinds of value is from Bitcoin, which is effectively digital gold or a store of value in the format of trust and acceptance, to Ethereum, which is store of value in terms of compute power and ability to execute contracts, to various other stores of value or protocols that help you exchange value more seamlessly. I think that's where it's evolving. I don't see a currency use case. I see a store of value use case though. There is a different understanding also over there. We are fortunate enough to stay in a country where we've got probably the best payments method or payments rails ever. And we've got a stable enough government where you don't really see the impact of that devaluation of currency on a day-to-day basis. A currency is supposed to be stable. If a currency fails to do its job in being stable, then crypto can replace. And that's actually what you're seeing in Turkey and in Argentina, right? Because as soon as it loses stability, you don't want to keep a lot of your money over there. And if you don't want to keep a lot of money over there and it's not easily exchangeable for money, then crypto might as well be used for transfers, because crypto is a store of value and can easily be exchanged from one to the other. So what you are seeing in a lot of countries that are going through financial or economic turmoil is this sudden boom in adoption of crypto. And because crypto is now a viable alternative to a central bank currency. And where central bank fails to provide either the stability or the store of value properties, crypto comes in and steps in and takes up that job, because it does that job really well.
Tell me that one tip you think every crypto enthusiast or anybody looking to get started must keep in mind.
So I think crypto is very, very early. Do not get into it for getting immediate 100x returns. That will never happen. If you're committing to it, commit towards it for the longer run. And at least the tip that I tried was I just started off by buying some Bitcoin, and just that created a lot of intrigue. Crypto will fundamentally change the world simply because it improves on efficiency, and anything that improves on efficiency eventually gets adopted. So it might as well be a good thing for all of us to try and learn and understand. In a great way of, and of course, at the side, make money as well. So if you're just getting started out, just go ahead, buy some Bitcoin, either one time or do a daily SIP into it, or a monthly SIP into it. And Mudrex can help you out doing that. And then start learning about crypto from it. Do not fall for the 1000x return scam.
I think that's the most important lesson, especially after I've seen so many of people around me fall for it. I definitely agree to it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a guiding principle in life that if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't.
Absolutely.
So if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. Just don't do it.
Thank you so much, Edul. It's been a pleasure. I have got to learn a lot from this podcast, so I'm sure everybody else will as well. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you, Karishma, for having me here.